Before the world ever heard the names of Abraham, Moses, or Muhammad, before the divine had a singular face, Africa was home to a rich tapestry of gods and spirits, deities who shaped the universe, the earth, and humanity. These primal forces of creation were worshipped and revered long before the spread of the Abrahamic religions. Yet their stories remain mostly untold, relegated to the fringes of history. Why is it that we know so little about the gods who first gave form to our world? Why are their names and myths often overshadowed by newer religious traditions? As the world began to focus on monotheism, ancient African spiritual beliefs were pushed into the background, their rich mythologies overlooked, and their pantheons of deities dismissed. But the reality is that Africa, the cradle of humanity, was the birthplace of some of the world's most profound spiritual traditions, systems of belief and gods that have existed for thousands of years. From the Yoruba's Olodumare, who wove the fabric of the universe with threads of divine wisdom, to the Bantu's Mulungu, whose presence shaped the cosmos, Africa's spiritual history is far more ancient and complex than many realize. These were not mere local beliefs, but cosmologies that influenced the way entire cultures saw the world, the cosmos, and their place in it. In this video, we will uncover the stories of these primal African deities, exploring the myths and legends that have been passed down through generations, from the powerful gods of creation to the spirits who maintain balance in the world. We will take you on a journey that challenges the conventional narrative of religion. What did it mean to worship a god who was connected to both the sun and the earth? How did the ancient people of Africa view their relationship with the divine before the influence of external religions? These questions, and many more, will guide our exploration of the African gods who came before, and in some cases still walk among us today. So join us as we uncover the forgotten gods of Africa and breathe life into these ancient beliefs that have shaped both the past and the future. The gods may have had no names at first, but their influence was undeniable. Let us journey back to a time when Africa's spiritual landscape was dominated by powerful creators, beings whose legacies are still very much alive today. Africa, a land of immense cultural diversity and ancient traditions, has long been a cradle of spiritual belief systems that are deeply intertwined with the natural world. Before the spread of monotheistic religions like Christianity and Islam, African spiritual practices flourished across the continent, each region developing its own unique connection to the divine. These spiritual systems were not uniform but shared common themes of interconnectedness with nature, reverence for ancestors, and the worship of deities who governed the forces of creation. What stands out most is that these beliefs were not mere superstitions, but complex, deeply philosophical systems that sought to understand the forces that shaped the universe. They provided a spiritual map for how humans could live in harmony with nature, the divine, and each other. One of the core principles in African spirituality is the idea of balance, an ongoing dance between the seen and unseen, the natural and supernatural. The African worldview, rich in symbolism, held the belief that everything in existence was part of a greater cosmic order. The earth, the heavens, and the spirits all played their roles in maintaining this delicate balance. In many African traditions, gods were not distant, abstract figures, but were intimately involved in the lives of humans, guiding, protecting, and sometimes even intervening directly. These gods, often represented in forms ranging from animals to natural elements like water, fire, or the sky, were seen as forces of nature and creation. They did not sit on high, far removed from the struggles of humanity. Rather, they were present in every element of daily life, accessible through ritual, prayer, and sacrifice. The vastness of Africa's spiritual heritage is reflected in the diversity of deities worshipped across its many regions. For example, in the Yoruba tradition, Olodumare is revered as the supreme creator god who governs the universe. Olodumare is both transcendent and immanent, existing beyond time and space, while also intimately involved in the lives of the Orishas, lesser gods who serve as intermediaries between humanity and the divine. Each Orisha, such as Shango, Oshun, or Eshu, embodies specific elements of life, like love, war, wisdom, and fate. In the Bantu tradition, the creator god Mulungu is seen as both distant and all-powerful, representing the sun and the universe. Mulungu's role in creation is not just one of origin, but also one of sustenance and balance, ensuring the continued flow of life. Similarly, in the Zulu culture, Unkulunkulu is believed to be the creator of all things, having emerged from the reeds of the earth to bring order to chaos. This figure is not merely a distant observer of creation, but an active force shaping the world, giving it form, structure, and life. In addition to these grand creator deities, African traditions also include a rich pantheon of ancestral spirits who continue to watch over the living. These spirits are considered the link between the human and divine realms, and their wisdom is sought through rituals and ceremonies. African spirituality was, and still is, a living force that binds together the community, the natural world, and the cosmos. It was not just a set of beliefs, but a way of life, grounded in the practice of daily rituals, honoring the spirits of nature, and maintaining the balance of the universe. These spiritual practices gave birth to rich cultural traditions, artistic expressions, and philosophies that shaped the African way of life long before the spread of Abrahamic religions. The gods of Africa were not merely figures to be worshipped. They were integral parts of a larger system that governed the world, giving it structure, meaning, and order. To understand Africa's spiritual heritage is to recognize the complexity and depth of its gods and their connection to all aspects of existence. These deities were not simply names to be recited. They were forces of nature, guiding principles and protectors of humanity. The myths surrounding them were not just stories, but blueprints for understanding life's purpose and how to live in harmony with the world around us. In a world increasingly dominated by monotheistic faiths, these primal African beliefs remind us of the vastness of the human quest for meaning, spirituality, and connection with the divine. As we continue to explore these stories, we must remember that the richness of African spirituality is not something that should be relegated to the past, but a living tradition that continues to shape millions of people's lives today. The African deities, each unique in their symbolism and stories, offer a fascinating glimpse into a worldview that values balance, connection, and reverence for the natural and spiritual worlds. These gods and their mythologies are not mere remnants of a forgotten time, but keys to understanding the deeper connections that exist between humanity, the earth, and the cosmos. By diving into their stories, we uncover not only the origins of creation, but also the deep philosophical insights that have shaped African societies for millennia. Across Africa, the belief in creator gods has long been central to the spiritual fabric of its many cultures, each pantheon offering a profound understanding of the cosmos, creation, and humanity's place in the universe. Among the most prominent of these deities are Olodumare of the Yoruba, Mulungu of the Bantu peoples, Nzambi of the Bakongo, and Amun-Ra of ancient Egypt. Though their stories differ, these gods share a common thread: They represent the force of creation, embodying the divine power that brought forth life and shaped the world in distinct yet interconnected ways. Olodumare, the supreme god in Yoruba cosmology, is revered as the source of all life and existence. The Yoruba people, predominantly located in West Africa, believe that Olodumare is both transcendent and immanent, the divine being responsible for the creation of the world and everything in it. Olodumare's power is limitless, yet he is not seen as a distant or detached deity. Instead, he governs the universe from a place of balance and order. The Yoruba pantheon consists of a vast number of orishas, or lesser deities, each of whom serves specific roles in maintaining harmony within the world. Olodumare is the ultimate creator, but it is through the orishas, such as Shango, Oshun, and Yemoja, that Olodumare's will is expressed and acted upon in the world. These orishas are believed to interact directly with humanity, guiding, protecting, and sometimes testing the people in their daily lives. Olodumare's relationship with the orishas emphasizes the Yoruba belief in interconnectedness, where the supreme god is seen as the source of all divine forces, yet each orisha has a distinct influence on different aspects of life. In the heart of Central Africa, the Bantu people worship Mulungu, the creator god associated with the sun and the cosmos. Unlike Olodumare, whose influence is deeply personal and immediate, through his relationship with the orishas, Mulungu is often depicted as a distant, somewhat aloof god, whose influence is nonetheless profound. Mulungu is the source of all life, but he is not intimately involved in the day-to-day affairs of humanity. Instead, his power is felt in the sun's warmth, the cycle of life, and the vastness of the cosmos. The Bantu view him as a cosmic force, representing the order and structure of the universe. His creation of humanity is seen as an act of great cosmic importance, but once this task is completed, he withdraws from direct interaction with humans. This distance does not diminish his importance. Rather, it emphasizes the grandeur of his creation and the respect he commands. Through Mulungu's influence, the Bantu people came to understand their place in the cosmos, seeing themselves as part of a larger, divinely ordered universe. Across Central Africa, particularly in the Bakongo culture, the god Nzambi plays a similarly central role in creation. Nzambi is considered the creator of humanity and is revered as a figure of both power and mercy. While Nzambi shares similarities with other creator gods, he is particularly notable for his close relationship with the human world. Unlike Mulungu, who is more distant, Nzambi is deeply involved in the moral and spiritual life of humanity. The Bakongo believe that Nzambi created the first humans, but they also see him as a god of law, morality, and spiritual guidance. He is not only the creator, but also a moral compass for the people, ensuring that humanity lives in harmony with the natural world. Nzambi's influence stretched across much of Central Africa, as his spiritual guidance resonated with various ethnic groups within the region. His worship emphasized the importance of maintaining spiritual balance, particularly through rituals, respect for ancestors, and living in accordance with the laws of nature. In ancient Egypt, Amun-Ra was one of the most significant creator deities in the pantheon. Amun-Ra was a composite god, formed from the fusion of Amun, the god of air and mystery, and Ra, the sun god. This combination created a powerful deity, one who was both a hidden force of the universe and an illuminating presence. Amun-Ra was seen as the creator of the world, with his influence extending far beyond Egypt's borders. In Egyptian cosmology, Amun-Ra brought order to chaos and is often depicted as the god who created both the heavens and the earth. His role as a creator is reflected in the belief that from his will, all things came into being, both visible and invisible. Amun-Ra's significance was so profound that he was worshipped not only by the Egyptians, but also by neighboring peoples who came into contact with the Egyptian civilization. His temples, such as the Grand Temple of Karnak, are testaments to his widespread veneration and the deep influence he had on Egyptian culture and religion. Despite the variations in how these deities were worshipped and understood, a common theme emerges. Each of these gods was seen as a source of life, order, and balance. While Olodumare's influence is enacted through the Orishas, making his presence tangible in everyday life, Mulungu's role as a cosmic force emphasizes the vastness of creation. Nzambi's closeness to humanity, focusing on morality and guidance, stands in contrast to the distant but all-encompassing power of Amun-Ra. Yet each god fulfills the same ultimate purpose: to explain the origins of existence, to maintain order, and to offer a path for humans to follow in their spiritual and moral lives. These creator gods, Olodumare, Mulungu, Nzambi, and Amun-Ra, are more than just figures of mythology. They represent the deep spiritual wisdom of the cultures that worship them. They are metaphors for the forces that govern not only the natural world, but also human destiny, offering insights into the connections between humanity, the divine, and the universe. Understanding these gods provides us with a richer, more nuanced perspective on African spirituality, revealing how deeply these ancient cultures sought to understand creation and our place within it. The legacy of these creator deities continues to resonate today, offering timeless wisdom that transcends both time and geography. In the rich tapestry of African spirituality, creation myths are the threads that weave together the history, identity, and worldview of various cultures. These myths are not merely stories passed down through generations. They are sacred teachings that explain the origins of the universe, the natural world, and humanity's place within it. Each culture across the African continent has its own creation myth, intricately tied to its specific beliefs, deities, and understanding of the cosmos. These myths share a common purpose: to offer an understanding of how life began and how humanity must live in harmony with the divine and the world around them. The Yoruba people of West Africa have a creation myth that centers around Olodumare, the supreme god of creation. According to Yoruba cosmology, the world began with a great void, a formless space that was full of potential. Olodumare, in his infinite wisdom, decided to create the earth. He sent Obatala, one of the Orishas, to shape the world. But Obatala, in his desire to create a perfect world, made a series of mistakes. After being corrected by Olodumare, Obatala eventually completed the creation of the earth. This story of creation emphasizes the importance of balance, imperfection, and divine intervention in the shaping of the world. The Yoruba myth reflects their belief that creation is a dynamic, ongoing process that requires constant attention, learning, and correction. This myth also demonstrates how the Yoruba believe the divine interacts with the world, where gods like Olodumare are not distant entities but active participants in maintaining cosmic order. In the Bantu tradition, the creation myth is closely tied to the god Mulungu, a figure who is often associated with the sun and the cosmos. The Bantu people believe that Mulungu created humanity from the earth, bringing forth life from the soil. However, Mulungu did not create humans for idle existence. Instead, his act of creation was an invitation for humans to live in harmony with the world around them. The Bantu myth speaks to the relationship between humanity and nature, emphasizing that the earth is sacred and must be respected. This creation myth underscores the interconnectedness of all life, and the responsibility of humans to care for the earth and its creatures. Unlike the Yoruba creation story, which is filled with action and intervention, the Bantu myth reflects a more serene, meditative process of creation, where the creator's role is both intimate and cosmic. In the Bantu belief system, creation is not just about the origin of life, but about sustaining it through respect and balance. The Bakongo people from Central Africa have a creation myth that centers around Nzambi, the god responsible for the creation of humanity. According to the Bakongo, Nzambi created the first human beings, shaping them from clay. But unlike other deities who create the world and withdraw, Nzambi remains an active force in human affairs. Nzambi's creation of humanity is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. He is seen as a god who is deeply invested in the well-being of humanity, guiding people through moral and spiritual practices. The creation of humanity by Nzambi is often viewed as an act of love and care, marking humanity as sacred in the eyes of the divine. This myth emphasizes the close relationship between humanity and the Creator, and it reflects the Bakongo people's belief in the continual guidance of their spiritual ancestors. The Zulu people from southern Africa also have a powerful creation myth that centers on their god Unkulunkulu, who is seen as the creator of all things. According to Zulu tradition, Unkulunkulu emerged from the reeds of the earth to bring life to the world. He shaped the land, created animals, and brought humans into existence. Unkulunkulu's creation is not one of grand gestures or interventions, but rather an act of emergence, symbolizing the slow, steady unfolding of the world from chaos into order. This creation story reflects the Zulu belief in the cyclical nature of life, where all things are interconnected and evolve over time. The Zulu people believe that Unkulunkulu's creation was not just an event, but a process that continues in every new generation. Their creation myth underscores the belief that life is an ongoing creation, with humanity as part of a larger, ever-changing process. In ancient Egypt, the creation myths are centered around the god Amun-Ra, one of the most significant deities in Egyptian cosmology. Amun-Ra is often depicted as the god who brought order to chaos and created the world from a primordial state of nothingness. According to Egyptian myth, Amun-Ra existed in a state of hiddenness before he manifested himself as the source of all creation. From his will came the first gods, who in turn created the earth, the sky, and all living things. Amun-Ra's creation myth emphasizes the idea of order emerging from chaos, a concept that was central to Egyptian thought. The Egyptians believed that the world was constantly in need of divine intervention to maintain order, and Amun-Ra was seen as the cosmic force who ensured this order through his continuous creation. The myth reflects the Egyptian view of the world as a place of balance, where the gods worked tirelessly to maintain harmony between the heavens and the earth. Despite the many differences in these creation myths, there are striking similarities. Across the African continent, the idea of divine order and balance is central. In each myth, the creator god is not only responsible for the origin of life, but also for the ongoing maintenance of order in the world. The gods are seen as active participants in the lives of their people, guiding, shaping, and intervening when necessary. The creation stories also emphasize the importance of humanity's relationship with nature and the divine. Humans are not seen as separate from the earth, but as part of a larger cosmic order that must be respected and maintained. These creation myths offer a profound insight into African spirituality and the worldview of its people. They reveal that African cultures have long recognized the importance of balance, respect, and harmony in the world. The gods of creation in these myths are not just distant figures, they are deeply connected to the world, and their actions have a direct impact on the lives of their people. Through these stories, we see how African spiritual traditions understood the world as a dynamic and interconnected place where the divine and the earthly are inextricably linked. These creation myths are not just ancient stories, but timeless wisdom that continues to resonate with people today. In African spirituality, nature is not just a backdrop to human existence, but a dynamic force intricately woven into the fabric of the divine. It is believed that the gods themselves are deeply connected to the natural world, and that the earth, sky, water, and animals are all imbued with spiritual significance. These beliefs shaped how African communities lived in harmony with their surroundings, seeing themselves as caretakers of the earth rather than its dominators. The relationship between humans, nature, and the divine was seen as a continuous cycle of respect and reciprocity, where balance was the ultimate goal. In many African cultures, nature itself was revered as sacred. From the towering trees in the forests to the flowing rivers, all were viewed as manifestations of the divine, and often specific deities were associated with particular aspects of nature. For instance, in the Yoruba tradition, Orisha Oya, the goddess of winds and storms, symbolizes the power of transformation and change in nature. Similarly, Yemoja, the goddess of rivers and motherhood, embodies the life-giving and nurturing forces of water. These deities were not distant figures, but were believed to have a direct influence on the health and well-being of both people and the environment. The connection between spirituality and nature was emphasized in rituals, ceremonies, and everyday life, where offerings and prayers were made to maintain harmony with these forces. The concept of interconnectedness extends beyond nature to the spiritual realm, particularly in the African veneration of ancestors. In many African belief systems, the ancestors are seen as active participants in the ongoing cycle of life. They are believed to exist in a spiritual realm, but maintain a direct influence over the living. Ancestors serve as intermediaries between the gods and humanity, offering guidance, protection, and wisdom. This relationship underscores the cyclical view of life and death that is prevalent in African cosmologies, where death is not an end, but a transition to another form of existence. Honoring the ancestors through rituals and ceremonies is vital for maintaining balance and ensuring the continued blessings of the divine. For instance, the Bakongo people hold a deep reverence for their ancestors, and rituals dedicated to them are central to the spiritual life of the community. The spirits of the ancestors are believed to guide and protect their descendants, ensuring the prosperity and well-being of the living. In the Zulu culture, ancestors play an equally vital role. Mulungu, the creator god, is not seen as entirely separate from the ancestral spirits. The Zulu believe that the divine and the ancestors are intricately connected, with ancestral spirits watching over their descendants, offering guidance in times of need, and ensuring the continuity of life. This belief highlights the importance of community and the shared spiritual responsibility of honoring those who have come before. Furthermore, many African cultures view rituals and ceremonies as essential to maintaining spiritual harmony with both the natural world and the ancestors. These practices are deeply rooted in the belief that the divine and the natural are not separate but part of a single interconnected reality. Rituals often involve offerings to deities and ancestors, which are believed to restore balance and ensure prosperity. For example, in the Yoruba tradition, the Orishas are honored through elaborate festivals and ceremonies that honor their specific domains, such as the earth, water, or the sky. These ceremonies are not just acts of worship, but a way to maintain the harmony of the world. ensuring that the forces of nature and the divine are aligned in balance. In this spiritual landscape, the divine is not a distant or abstract concept, but a living, breathing force that governs every aspect of existence. The gods, nature, and ancestors are all part of the same intricate web of life, and it is through maintaining harmony with them that humans find meaning, purpose, and balance in their lives. African spirituality, with its focus on interconnectedness, balance, and respect for nature and the divine, offers a timeless perspective on how humanity can live in harmony with the world around it. As we reflect on the spiritual legacies of the African creator gods and the rich, diverse myths that have shaped the continent's worldview, it becomes clear that these beliefs have not only withstood the test of time, but continue to influence modern African culture and society. The gods and creation myths of Africa, which were once central to the lives of the continent's earliest civilizations, remain deeply embedded in the collective consciousness of many African communities. Their influence is visible not only in traditional religious practices, but also in contemporary African art, music, literature, and even politics. This enduring legacy is a testament to the power of these deities and myths to transcend time and geography, offering timeless wisdom and spiritual guidance. In many African cultures, the stories of the creator gods and their mythologies continue to play a central role in how people understand their place in the world. These gods were seen not only as the origin of the universe, but as guiding forces in everyday life, shaping moral codes, community life, and individual behavior. Even today, many Africans continue to invoke the names of these gods in prayer and ritual, seeking protection, guidance, and blessings. The Yoruba, for example, still honor Olodumare and the Orishas in ceremonies that connect the past to the present, ensuring that the spiritual forces that shaped their world continue to provide strength and wisdom for future generations. The influence of African creation myths also extends beyond religious practice and into the broader cultural realm. African literature, art, and music are filled with references to the deities and myths that have shaped the continent's spiritual traditions. These myths are not just ancient stories, but serve as living narratives that continue to inspire modern African writers, musicians, and artists. For instance, the stories of the Orishas in Yoruba cosmology have inspired countless works of art, from traditional sculptures to contemporary films. Similarly, the reverence for nature and the divine in Bantu, Zulu, and Bakongo cultures continues to be reflected in African music, which often speaks to the sacredness of the earth and the interconnectedness of all life. In addition to their cultural influence, these African spiritual traditions also carry important lessons for the modern world, particularly in the areas of environmental conservation, community, and social harmony. The African belief in the sacredness of nature, as embodied in the reverence for deities like Yamoja, Orunmila, and Mulungu, offers a powerful framework for thinking about sustainability and ecological balance. In an age where environmental degradation threatens the very survival of the planet, the African worldview, which emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things, provides a reminder that humanity's relationship with the earth is not one of domination, but of stewardship. The wisdom embedded in these spiritual practices calls for a return to a more respectful, balanced relationship with nature, encouraging us to consider the long-term consequences of our actions and the impact they have on the environment. Creator gods and their associated creation myths is also evident in the resurgence of interest in indigenous spiritual practices across the continent and in the African diaspora. In the face of colonialism, slavery, and the spread of Abrahamic religions, African spiritual traditions were often suppressed or marginalized. Yet these beliefs have not disappeared. In fact, there is a growing movement to reclaim and revive these ancient practices, both as a way to reconnect with cultural heritage and as a source of spiritual empowerment. In the Americas and the Caribbean, African diaspora communities have kept alive the worship of African gods, blending these traditions with elements of Catholicism, resulting in syncretic religions such as Vodou, Santeria, and Candomblé. These practices honor the same deities, such as Shango, Oshun, and Yamoja, that were worshipped by their ancestors in Africa, preserving the spiritual legacies that have shaped African cultures for centuries. Today, there is a growing awareness of the importance of African spirituality and a renewed interest in learning about the diverse belief systems that have existed across the continent. As more people look to reconnect with their roots, African spiritual practices are being studied and celebrated in academic, religious, and cultural spaces. This resurgence of interest is not just about remembering the past, but about honoring it and carrying its lessons forward into the future. The teachings of Africa's creator gods, which emphasize balance, interconnectedness, and respect for nature, are more relevant than ever as the world grapples with pressing issues such as climate change, environmental degradation, and social inequality. The wisdom embedded in these ancient traditions offers a framework for living in harmony with the earth and each other, a vision that is urgently needed in the modern world. In conclusion, the spiritual legacy of Africa's creator gods and their creation myths is not only an important part of the continent's history, but a living tradition that continues to shape African societies today. These deities and their teachings remind us of the deep connections between the divine, nature, and humanity, and offer valuable lessons in maintaining harmony and balance in our world. Whether through the worship of the Orishas, the reverence of ancestors, or the respect for the earth, African spiritual practices continue to inspire and guide millions of people across the globe. As we look to the future, we would do well to heed the timeless wisdom of Africa's creator gods and embrace the values of interconnectedness, stewardship, and respect that have guided generations before us. The wisdom of the past is not just a relic of history, but a guiding light for the future, a future that can be built on the solid foundation of Africa's spiritual traditions.